All right. We are we're not live. I was going to say we're live, but we are started.
Here we
Uh,
go.
so welcome to my casual conference chats where I interview conference organizers and ask them all the burning questions that I have about your experience and any guidance or any knowledge that I can get to help me and hopefully others organize our own conferences. So I'm gonna try to start kind of early in the timeline. I was looking at your history, and you had kind of a lot of event oriented experience before Rails World.
Mhm.
So can you kind of give us a little bit of an overview of your experience before Rails World to give us
Yeah.
context before we jump into that?
Yeah.
And quickly introduce yourself as well if people.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Amanda. I am the executive director of the Rails Foundation, and part of our work is organizing the annual Rails World Conference. And then the first question was
Yeah.
my history. Okay. My history with events specifically, it actually goes back before tech when I did PR and marketing for a hotel chain for 12 years in Amsterdam, three hotel properties and two restaurants. And I actually did events from the venue side back then as part of that, because for a small hotel chain, like hands in many pots. So I had a little bit of experience on the venue side on a small scale. And then I started doing marketing consultancy and moved into tech to do event marketing specifically for HashiCorp for their conference HashiConf. And from there moved more into the event organizing space. And then eventually came over to the Rails Foundation.
That's cool. So you have experience from both sides, from the venue side as well as the event side, I guess you would call it. Um,
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah. So does that give you any like insight when you're going to talk to venues? Like you kind of already know what they need and what they're looking for? Because my experience thus far has been, my very limited experience, granted, is that I was expecting venues to be more engaged because you're like trying to give them money, but
Mm.
oftentimes they're very busy and hard to get a hold of and that kind of thing. So like, does your experience give you some like secret tactics to to like get more
To get
engaged
their
with them?
attention, that is
Yeah.
honestly really, really hard. I understand how you're going through that because if you think of a venue, their primary thing is to run events for people. It's the event space. So every week there's several events happening and they don't really have the bandwidth to think, okay, in 9 months, your event is coming.
Yeah.
So you just have to prepare everything in advance and let them know a couple weeks out, like this is exactly more than a couple weeks out, because if it's anything that you need from the event, then you have to ask them. And it sounds like your venue is smaller and more sort of accommodating and more friendly, but the larger the event spaces are, the harder that gets to either talk to the right person, get the permissions for certain things. Like for our
Yeah.
events, we need to do sometimes rigging. So we need to get certain people to be able to hang things in the space. So yeah, it's just a lot of following up and if you have a good team helping you, this is what a producer does. They just constantly reach out to the venue and sort of nag them to get their attention.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, I imagine as it gets, because for my event, obviously it's very small, 150 people, a smaller kind of local venue, and it's basically one or maybe two people that I'm in contact with. But as the venue gets bigger, then they're going to have a whole team and you have to talk
Yeah,
to multiple different people depending on what you are trying to achieve, what you need. You have to talk to the tech person that handles the
yeah,
lights. You have to talk to the venue person that handles the like calendar or whatever. So yeah, it
yeah.
gets more complex and more difficult as you kind of scale up.
But the good thing about what you're in a sweet spot with 150 people and a venue that does this all the time. The good thing is that they've done it so many times before that you can really lean on their expertise. Where's the
Right.
best place for registration? When should we do this? How does it work here with that? Because they can just do copy and paste and take a lot of that thinking off of your shoulders.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Um, What were what were some of the differences or maybe like new things you had to learn or get used to going from HashiConf to your first Rails world? Was there any like big differences that you noticed, or were you kind of able to just apply a lot of your experience straight across?
I actually applied all of the experience there. There was definitely a difference between an open source, I mean, there is open source at HashiCorp as well. Terraform was open source, but an enterprise conference versus an open source community conference is different in a lot of ways. For instance, one thing to keep in mind, I was one of a team at HashiCorp, so we kind of
Mm,
divided and conquered. Whereas with Rails World, it was primarily me with support from the board and support from a producer. So the first one, I think the biggest thing, and you won't necessarily run into it yourself, but the biggest adjustment for me was that at HashiCorp and HashiConf, we put a lot of support into the opening keynote with the founders and certain key customers. So I kind of went into Rails World thinking I would do that with DHH, like let's prepare ahead of time. Let's get
mhm.
your concepts fleshed out. And he doesn't need any of that stuff. Like he just does it on his own. He rehearses. He barely rehearses. He just needs a couple minutes ahead of time to make sure the clicker works.
Uh-huh.
So that was an adjustment where I felt like I was going in blind, not knowing like
Hmm.
what the opening keynote is gonna like, can this guy deliver? Of course I know he could deliver, but like
Yeah.
I always like to over prepare. And he was like, no, I don't like to prepare at all. And I was like, that's a little bit stressful, but we're going to roll with it because you're the one on stage. And if you're comfortable with that, then we can go with it. But besides that, I brought a lot of things over from HashiCorp and HashiConf, to be honest. The fact that
Mhm.
we do turnkey booths so that the
Cool.
sponsor lounge is very consistent looking and not too busy. That's something I learned from HashiCorp and HashiConf. And so quite a lot, actually.
Gotcha. Um, So what were let's go to specifically the first Rails world.
Mm.
What were some of the challenges that you had on that first one, being the first one?
I mean, everything, everything to start. And I mean, you're starting a conference from scratch, so it's going to be a lot similar. Number one, figuring out what the best city was to have it, finding the venue. I tried several cities and I went and I toured a lot of venues in another city first. And in the end, it was too expensive and kind of defaulted to Amsterdam. I had already asked a lot of venues here, what are the prices? What are the dates? What are the options? And in the end, I thought our venue was too expensive. And then when I went to another city and I compared prices, I was like, actually, we're getting a great deal. That's why we came here twice. Um, and it did a lot of the lifting as far as a lot of the AV was in-house already, like the stage was already there. So these are things you don't have to think about. They took care of the food, so you don't have to talk to a different F&B caterer. So
Hmm.
that was really, really nice. And again, why we went back a second time. But I didn't know the first time, like, would people want to come? Would people want to speak at this conference? Would sponsors want to sponsor this conference? So everything was an unknown that first year. And it went better than expected for a lot of things. But for instance, for sponsorship sales that first year, we didn't meet our goal at all.
Hmm. Gotcha.
And it's a scary thing to go
Right.
into to run a budget and say, I need X amount of money. Otherwise, it's going to be a huge net loss. And in the end, it was a bigger net loss than we were comfortable with, but we just had to kind of go through with it. So, but we had the foundation behind us. And I know that with smaller conferences, the risk lays on your shoulders a little bit. So I feel it. I definitely feel it. I feel bad
Yeah.
for you if you're in that case right now. Where are you, by the way, with your event?
So we have venue, we have a couple sponsors, and we just opened our CFP. And I also have two keynote speakers that I
Great.
invited who already have confirmed. So we're pretty far along. Basically,
Cool.
um, right now I'm waiting for the CFP to kind of go through and then choose those speakers. And really, I'm now in the stage of, okay, I have the foundation pieces set. What do I want this to look like? What do I want the experience to be?
Yeah, cool.
Now that I have, it is a conference now. I say if you have sponsors, speakers, and a venue, you have a conference.
Yeah.
And now I need to make it a good conference.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Um, kind of piggybacking off of that, what were the things, and it doesn't have to be your first one, I guess, but what are the things that you feel Rails World has done really well?
Hmm.
Like, what are the successes?
I I can I'll just things I like about Rails World. Let's just call it that.
Mhm.
I don't want to like compare it to other events, but these are things I like that we do. We give people an opportunity because events can be really overwhelming. Even for me, I'm an outgoing person, but that first year I was running to every quiet room I could find just to take a breather myself and then coming back down to talk to people and then going back up again. So I was constantly running around just to like hide and come back. So what I like to do then is to create things and spaces for people who need to get away from everybody. Even
Mhm.
if it's a small conference, I find this really, really important. So for instance, the first year we had this wall that if you didn't want to talk to anybody, you just go up to the wall and you could write on the wall, you could read the timeline, and you were busy doing something without necessarily having to talk to anybody else.
Mhm.
And there's also these little like snuggy corners that you can sit in if you need to. We also had a chill out room this time with a really beautiful view. And in Toronto, we had all these tables and couches set up in the kilns. It was an old brick factory, just so that people could get away from. It's really, really important. I think the Ruby community in tech is quite a chatty community, but we're all still, even in general, if we're outgoing, we're all still overwhelmed, I think, by
Mhm.
being around a lot of people. I don't know if that's post-COVID or what, but I always think like, okay, if I'm as outgoing as I am and I need a break, then I have to think of people who are less outgoing than me. We also push, and again, this is something that I learned from HashiCorp, we push our videos live on YouTube within 2 weeks. The keynote and all the following keynotes go live as soon as possible. So they get processed first and all the rest within 2 weeks. I like how we do that. Mm. And then I guess just the polish and shine. I like also how we do that. And it feels weird to say I like
Mhm.
because it's tooting my own horn in a way, and I don't mean that, but it's like the things that I care
But
about, I think.
yeah, you're proud of that.
Yeah, yeah. So you haven't been to one, right? You haven't
I
been to one.
haven't. I really wish I had, because then I
All right, this
I could
call is
have
over.
more. Next year, it's happening
It's
much closer
closer.
to me,
Yeah.
and I am already planning on getting a ticket.
Oh yeah,
Um,
so this is also another thing. I like the venues that we choose, and in Austin, it's a little going to be a different venue actually. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. It's going to take extra energy and thought into making it a cool experience because it's really just kind of like a box. Whereas
mhm,
before we've had daylight and we've had beautiful monumental buildings and stuff or repurposed buildings. And this
mhm.
one doesn't really have that. So I'm a little bit nervous about that compared to other things. But then you have Austin and it's a fantastic city and the city will do the heavy lifting, I hope. So
Right, right. Um, was there anything that you learned at this year's Rails World that you are saying, okay, I want to do that better, or just any lessons learned?
yeah, all the time. This one in particular, the lesson learned was don't overprogram at all.
Mhm.
The Rails world, essentially for most people, is pre-registration on one day and then 2 full days. But
Mhm.
for a certain group of people, Rails core, they come in a couple days early, they have a private meeting, a private dinner. This year we had the Rails at Scale Summit, which was a pre-event for 100 people. After that, we had the board meeting at like, it was just every day and night, there was something from Monday to Friday. And it was by
Yeah.
day three, which Rails World hadn't even started yet. By day three, I was exhausted. And then
Mm.
I was thinking of DHH, who had to give his opening keynote, and the Rails core, who were going to be flooded with people wanting to talk to them on
Mhm.
Thursday and Friday of Rails World. And I thought, okay, we can't do this every year. I don't want it to be exhausting for myself, much less for the Rails core team, for instance.
Right.
So we're going to definitely slim that back next year
Mhm.
and have a much more simple. It was also really confusing for comms, like sending the Rails core certain information, sending the board of the Rails Foundation certain information, sending speakers certain information, but then if they're on the board, they need two groups of information, or if they're on the core team. So it was just like this comms nightmare that I want to
Yeah.
try to fix for next year. So yeah, there's always learning lessons to learn after an event. In hindsight,
Gotcha.
everything, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because you were essentially organizing like almost three different events, like company offsite and a conference and a mini conference with the Rails at
Yep.
Scale.
Yeah. Plus all the audiences, like
Yeah.
core is an audience, the issues and committers teams are another audience, the board is
Mhm.
another audience, speakers are another audience, and then we have our biggest audience of all the attendees who are coming. So yeah, there's got to be a better
Yeah.
way. Oh, and the Rails at Scale Summit. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, Speaking of audiences, and speakers specifically, um, is there anything that what is the speaker experience? Because is there two tracks at
Tracks.
two tracks
Yeah.
for 2 days? You have quite a number of speakers. What is the speaker experience like? Do you do anything to kind of like make them feel special and help them navigate the conference? What is that like?
We could do better with people who are speaking at conferences for the first time or who are
Mhm.
generally nervous with their talk. We assume a lot of speakers. If you get in, you've got the chops to give the talk. So we don't do, for instance, speaker prep. We ask them to submit their presentation, I think, 2 weeks before, which is already really difficult for a lot of people because
Mhm.
people like to work on their talks quite late. But we
Mhm.
want to, everything is run from front of house. So it's not a plug and play conference at all. We don't want people fumbling with plugging in their laptop on stage. So it's run from the front of house, which means they need to download all the fonts on their computers, make sure everything works good. They have to run through it in rehearsal.
Mhm.
So it moves the timeline for speakers. We could do a better job of coaching anybody who needs it through, like making the talks a little bit better. I don't know how we would do that. I'm sure the board would be willing to speak to speakers. But for other than that, which I think is something that we could be better at, we we cover their hotel, in quite a nice hotel usually. We have a speaker gift and we have a speaker dinner. And one year a sponsor gave money so that we could pay our speakers a small travel stipend. It didn't cover most speakers' flights, but at least it was
Mhm.
something like a gesture. But that turned
Right.
out to be quite a financial nightmare of getting everybody paid and how to
Yeah.
pay them and different currencies and different platforms. Some people wanted
Yeah.
Wise, Revolut. So in the end, I don't think we're going to do that again unless there's a really easy way to do it because it
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
just really logistic nightmare. So that's generally what we do.
Gotcha. Um, how about sponsors? What is the sponsor experience? Um, do you do anything special for them? How do you make that a smooth experience?
This is a hard one because there's generally different types of sponsors. There's the ones who have a booth. There is Booth Plus, I'll call them. Platinum. It's always been App Signal up until recent, well, up so far.
Hmm.
There are sponsors who we call them program sponsors that have something else, like Buzzsprout. They have the podcast booth. It's a setup
Right.
on site, but it's not necessarily the predetermined booth, the turnkey booth. And then we have others that are, for instance, sponsoring Wi-Fi, where they just like need their brand there. They're happy
Hmm.
to donate some money towards that, and then they just want to attend themselves. So I think the most effort goes into the booth sponsors because you actually have to build something for them, or at least give them space and that. And they have more to do because they don't just turn up, they have to work on demos, they need to submit logos. So what we do is the turnkey booth thing is you get a booth that looks like this. We ask for one color and we give them a mock-up of what the booth will look like. We ask for one brand color and that goes on this wall and we put your logo on that wall. And a lot of companies, especially the larger companies, are so used to having to brand both walls with any number, like the branding. To me, that
Hmm.
looks really, really messy in a sponsor hall if like each sponsor has a different look and feel. So we keep it
Hmm.
really consistent. You give us one color, you give us one logo, then you have a screen. You can do anything you want on the screen, but it's contained here. And then when you
Hmm.
enter the sponsor lounge, it's not overwhelming. It's really nice to look at. It's consistent and that's pleasing on the eye. And that's a really hard thing to explain to sponsors ahead of time. Like, trust us, it's going to look good. You're going to look good, but you only can give us one color. And then they're like, but can we make a gradient? Can we put a pattern on it? Like, absolutely not. And saying no to a sponsor is really hard sometimes. They don't really like
Yeah.
that. And the message there is we're taking it off your hands. You don't need to get your design team involved. You don't need to
Right.
like fabricate a booth yourself. You don't need to bring banners or ship banners or anything like that. Like we do it all for you. You just need to show up with your demo and your swag. And
Yeah.
it only after they're on site do they realize how nice it is.
Right.
So do you know
Yeah.
yet what you're going to offer sponsors?
A little bit. I've talked with a couple of them to kind of figure out what is the most value for them. And like you said, there's different kinds of sponsors. Like for us, there's like sponsors that want to get awareness for hiring purposes. And then
Mhm.
there's ones that want to get awareness for product purposes. And then there's people that just want to support the conference and the community and
Yeah,
just have like a good face in the community. Um, and I'm because it's so small and my costs are really low and I don't need a lot of sponsorship money. So I'm not gonna have like 10 sponsors. It's gonna be like three or four. I'm trying to tailor it to each one because I have that bandwidth that I can say like, hey, do you want a booth or do you want some time on stage or do you want a couple like emails going out right before the conference or something like that. So we haven't nailed all those details down completely yet, but because it's smaller, I can get a lot more custom. But I do like that um, kind of uniformity that brings simplicity,
yeah,
which might seem like a constraint to them at first, but
yeah,
that they later appreciate because I think that complexity is the enemy of most conferences
yeah,
and organizers.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah,
I
I,
think
I want
so.
I want
Mhm.
them to have a great experience, and I want to be able to customize that for them. And I think I'm able to do that because it's only three or four of them, and it's a small
Mhm.
conference. But yeah, we'll see how that goes this year, and maybe we'll change it this year. But yeah, I don't have like a sponsor hall with
Yeah.
5 to 10 booths or whatever. So we'll see. We'll see. Kind of talking about that. Oh, sorry, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, there's another caliber, let's say, of sponsor that I really, really love working with. And it's I almost want to call them like the yes and sponsor. Because like
Hmm.
I have a lot of ideas and sometimes I just want the right sponsor to understand my vision.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't always work. Like there's so many ideas I've tried to pitch to sponsors and they're like, nah. But for instance, uh, and it's a matter of finding what works for the brand as well. That's really, really important. So if you have like
Yeah.
a good idea, there might be a perfect sponsor to match with it. And I'll give you one example. The Buzzsprout podcast booth. So
Hmm.
that was an idea. I was like, I would really love a space. I saw it at another conference, a greenhouse type thing. And so I reached out to them. Buzzsprout is great. They're a great company to work with. They were immediately on board, and it's been this program that we keep going every year because it's nice. It's nice to have something like that. It creates content for Rails World, for Rails in general. It
Hmm.
gives podcasters something to come and you have like 800 people in the community at your disposal for interviews.
Yeah.
So they get a lot out of it as well. Another one is working with Avo on the Passport and Ruby embassy that we
Hmm.
just did. And that was definitely a joint effort, but it was Adrian from Avo saying like, "Ugh, I kind of want to do something." And I was like, well, this idea that we had banded around before, let's talk this out and like, let's make it fun and make it more work by working together. Another one is this year we had boats bringing people from the speaker hotel or from the conference hotel to the venue.
Hmm.
And it was the same thing. Rubiness, the guys who run Baltic Ruby, they were like, we want to be involved. We don't know yet what it's like. And I was like, well, I know that you guys are event organizers, so you appreciate fun things. So I have this idea. And I pitched them several. And when I mentioned the boat to bring people to the conference, like who shows up to a conference by boat, you know?
Yeah.
And like
Awesome.
I saw their eyes go, ooh. And I was like, okay, we're onto something here. This is like a company who really likes fun, weird things. So finding
Yeah.
those sort of sponsors, what that you have the idea and then they bring the right attitude is really, really fun as
Yeah.
well. So if you have anything like that, like this is a good community for that.
Yeah. And it's definitely like, sponsors can get kind of ignored if they just do the same basic thing. Like if they just have a booth and they just have their logo up and they have some like swag that we've all seen before, it's really easy to forget that they exist, right? But if they do something interesting and enhance the experience of the conference somehow, you remember that, and it's a huge boost to their brand, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love the Buzzsprout idea and the booth that they have um, every year. And I'm always like, after Rails World, I listen to a couple different podcasts in the community, and I love hearing the
Yeah.
ones where they're like, oh, we're at the Buzzsprout, greenhouse or whatever in Rails
Yeah.
World.
Yeah.
And they get to be in person, which, doesn't really happen when you're just interviewing people from
Yeah.
all over the world. And that's really cool. It's just a different vibe. So that's like such a cool thing. I have such a positive image. I've never even been to Rails World, and I've never met anybody from Buzzsprout, and I have such a positive image of Buzzsprout
Yeah.
because
Cool.
of that experience.
Love
Um,
it.
so yeah, I am trying to think of different things to do with our sponsors to do something like that. I have a little bit of time, so hopefully we'll make that happen. Um, Kind of along those lines of like uh, experience and perception, you don't, at Rails World thus far, you have not had any problems selling tickets, which is something that smaller conference organizers have to think a little bit more about. But do you do any like marketing, or do you think about that much at all? Or are you more just focused on the experience and the tickets sell themselves?
I I don't know if yeah, this is a funny thing. No, we don't worry about marketing, but because I come from the HashiCorp and HashiConf background where my first job on the events team was sell tickets. And I did marketing in tons of different ways. The first year I did that for Rails World.
Hmm.
In the end, I didn't have to. And it was
Yeah.
also different. It's very specific. I mean, so is HashiConf. It's very specific. But like we were reaching out to websites that have like top 10 lists of top 10 tech conferences to attend. Um, Reaching out to specialty groups to promote it, reaching out to certain Google groups. So I was doing all this for Rails World that first year in preparation. And in the
Hmm.
end, I really didn't have to do that much because the community took care of it. And for 3 years, it's gone really, really well. But there's only so long that we can sell out that quickly and not
Hmm.
get on people's nerves. You know, like it's quite frustrating for people if they can't get a ticket. And while it's fun the first couple of years, the whole board is really kind of sitting and going, okay, how do we make this a more fair, equal experience that anybody who, in
Right.
the end, people, if they want, because of the changeover in tickets, if they want to attend, they eventually do get a ticket. But
Hmm.
that first not getting it in the first round can be really frustrating. So we're trying to think
Yeah.
of how to sort that out. And then eventually, like we will have to do marketing again. It's the shiny new thing for the first couple of years, but I don't imagine that it could last. I mean, it would be great if it did, and we didn't have to worry about marketing because already the event experience itself takes up so much time and energy.
Right.
But
Yeah.
eventually, it's going to be something we have to think about.
Yeah. How do you think about the conference, like the conference purpose and its size? Because I think that the experience and also the purpose is different for regional conferences versus something like Rails World. How do you think about that? Like, what is the role of something like Rails World versus a regional conference?
Mm. Yeah, it's a good question. I'd like to hear your opinion as well, because what I think of Rails world as pushing the framework, this is what's new. This is like where we're going. This is the direction that we're taking. Whereas I see the regional conferences, and I'm excited now that I can go to more of them, to be honest. The regional conferences have a much more community oriented aspect. Like you do get that at Rails World, but it feels like because of the intimacy of the smaller regional conferences, you get more of the community. There's more space for newcomers to the framework or to the community. There's a It's so much easier to walk into an 150 person conference and feel like you really got to meet a lot of people versus
Hmm.
800 to 1100 that we've had at Rails World. That can be intimidating for a newcomer, maybe a little exciting depending on the newcomer. The content is also quite advanced, or at least we aim for it to be advanced and technical. And we have heard feedback that for somebody, actually, a really good feedback this year, a guy came up and said, like, I'm mid level and this is way above me. And I
Hmm.
had to tell him, like, the board had a talk and we decided that that's what we would aim for. Like it would be highly technical so that even if you're mid or a beginner, you know that you're not going to know everything, but you can aspirationally look at it
Hmm.
aspirationally
Yeah.
because there's just not space for a beginner track. And I think maybe there's space to pepper in a regional conference more beginner talks and have it be a very welcoming community because it's smaller. So I think the biggest difference I would say is the community building can happen in a much more intimate way at regional conferences, whereas Rails World is really focusing on the framework ahead of everything, and then where is it going, what's new, what's coming.
Yeah.
And it's not for
Definitely.
everybody. That's the beauty of it. Like you have a conference for every size that you could possibly want in every country almost. It feels like more and
Yeah.
more and more. So it's really like a choose your own adventure with conferences. Like, what are you comfortable with? What do you want to experience? You can find it in this community.
Yeah. Definitely. And that's been my experience. Like something like I've gone to Sin City Ruby the past couple years, and that was like, 100 people. And that was more, I went not knowing anybody, and uh, it's small enough that you can just walk in and you'll kind of just find yourself in a group with people and get to know them and versus, going to something for me, going to RailsConf where it's, this year's 800 people
Yeah.
and that one is more fun to like maybe get a couple of your coworkers together to go because it's harder on when it's that big to insert yourself into a group.
Yeah.
Still very possible, but maybe that's just me. I don't know if shy is the right word, but it's hard for me to just like go and insert
Yeah.
myself into a group at a conference that big is just kind of overwhelming. So that one's more fun to like go with a group that you already know and experience the fun of hanging out with them at a big conference
Yeah.
and seeing the cutting edge talks and stuff like that, getting the swag and like that's more of like a conference trip experience, with like friends or something like that. Whereas you
Yeah.
can go to a much smaller conference by yourself and get to know a couple new people and have a more intimate kind of experience in that sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
yeah.
know, it's funny. I was thinking about this recently because this year I went to, besides Rails World, of course, Bright and Ruby, RailsConf in Philadelphia, and Uruco, I just got back from in Portugal. Varying sizes, but generally on the larger side, all of them.
Mm,
And at Rails World, my primary job is talk to new people, talk to new people, talk to new people, talk to new people. Run the conference, of course, but talk to new people.
mm,
Um, and then I found that at the other three conferences, I was kept rotating back to people I knew already.
mhm.
I was kind of like off work, but I shouldn't be. In this role, I'm never off work at a community conference, but
Right.
at a certain point I was like, stop bothering these people. Like you're constantly going back to the same people because that's just how I am as a person. Like I
Yeah,
like to
yeah,
go out with the friends that I know. I don't necessarily like to talk
of
to new
course.
people when I go out to like a bar. I'm with my friends.
Yeah.
And I really observed that difference in myself going, oh yeah, no, no, you should make an effort because like you're at this
Hmm.
great opportunity where you don't have to run the conference. You don't have
Hmm.
to be on stage and you have more time now to talk to new people. So in the next, I don't know what my next event will be, but in the next one, I will try to be more proactive and talk to new people more because you're right.
Yeah.
I'm the same way, whatever you call it, even though I'm outgoing, reserved with new people.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I've heard you say that next year, I mean, how many people were at Rails World this year?
800, just over 800.
800. And I think I've heard you say that you guys want to increase that number for next year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be so many people.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, this is good
which,
feedback that we got, by the way. This and which you can do really well. And I know Jason Sweat does his forced participation.
yeah.
I got a couple because we sent the feedback survey out, and some of the people said it would be nice, and I also heard this in person, more not matchmaking, but more like not forced networking, but more facilitated networking because they were either new
Hmm.
or they were traveling
Yep.
alone or something like that.
Yeah.
And part of me was like, I don't know how much of that is on us to do, but I think as just like a human, I think it would be really nice to do. I don't know
Yeah.
how to do it yet, but several people called for it, especially as it gets bigger and bigger. The thing
Hmm.
that we do is called curated connections. So we do like a chat roulette random pairing beforehand. You have to opt into it. And then you can say, I want to meet one, two, or three people before, and they randomly pair you this program built on Rails. I think we did it too late because some people only got the pairs after the event or during the event or something.
Okay.
In the end, you just get on a call like we're doing now and you chat, and at least that's one person or two or three that you know before you go to the event. So we do it
Yeah.
on a very small scale, but on site, there's probably more that we could do. I just don't want to over program. It's that over programming
Yep.
thing again.
Yeah.
But that's something that you would be able to do at a smaller conference in a lot more of a genuine, natural way.
Yeah, it is nice, and I did like Jason's forced socialization. I think he called
Yeah,
it
yeah,
because it
yeah.
was it even if you are going to a conference and you're like, I'm gonna meet people, it's so easy to go and then just sit on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And then afterwards you're like, I didn't I didn't take any chances. I didn't talk to these people. So um giving that little boost is nice. And making it opt in, like I like the idea of forcing it because then some people that already have a bunch of friends at the conference and want to hang out with those friends are gonna, they're gonna roll their eyes and say, ugh, I don't now I don't want to do this thing. I just want to hang out with my friends. And maybe it's
Mhm.
not as fun for them, but yeah, it is really nice for the newer people.
I hear such good things about, and I haven't experienced it. I've only asked people at Ruby Central generally about it, but the guides and scholars that they do,
Yes.
I hear
Yeah.
such good things about that, and I wonder if there's a way to not limit it to the scholars necessarily, but anybody
Right.
who kind of wants a buddy, like a buddy
Yeah.
system, like meet
Yeah.
somebody, even if it's just for a coffee or a quick
Yep.
chat or something like that. I wonder how that would work if it was not limited to scholars or scholarship
Right.
recipients.
Right. That's a really good one. I should think about that more, how
Yeah,
to maybe make a system out of that, or expand that, like you said, just outside of the
yeah.
the guides and scholars, because I think that one is important. Yeah, interesting.
Just do like a pull a Jason and just randomly pair people up by email and surprise, here's your buddy.
Right, right. Um, okay. Uh, okay, some more general questions. Um, so this is obviously a big conference. How big is your team and how do you delegate stuff?
Yeah. This is my big challenge for next year. So the team, I had more people this year than in previous years. So that was really, really nice. But in previous years, it was me plus a duo who works on a production team, like a production agency. So we have
Mm,
the luxury of working with that. I think for smaller organizations or smaller conferences, you wouldn't necessarily work with a production team, but it's that team will do things like contacting a hotel because we also have like the hotel contracts, contacting a hotel, managing the speaker list of who's staying at
mm,
the hotel, um, running registration on site. So that those are the folks that you see who are like handing out the badges. They've set up the registration. They've stuffed the swag bags uh, on site. It's really the on site things that help. Actually, that's not true. The whole process. Then they are the point of contact for sponsors. Like, where do I go that first day? How do I set up my booth? Where do I find my booth?
mm,
So in the first 2 years, it was me plus those two because it just so happens to be pairs who run these agencies all the time.
mhm,
This year it was a little bit more. We had that same duo, but I also had the designer on site, which was really, really nice. Like the designer has worked with us for a couple of years and he's great. And it was a very hands-on, all hands on deck mentality. And then we had Amani, who's a new freelance project manager for the Rails Foundation. It was her first, she was just onboarded. So I just gave her like one work stream, run the upstairs studio that we were creating videos to push online all day. And then I had marketing help this time, and marketing by way of the emails we sent out, the social assets that we shared online, the blog posts that we wrote, and that was somebody named Gaia. So it was all three of those were my team this year, and they were on site when I couldn't be, like running around doing all like the important things. Because last year my feedback was like I can't be all the places at once. I definitely need more people on site. So that was my first attempt at delegating. It was good. It was so good. It was so nice.
mhm.
So I'm going to learn how to do that more. But the thing that happens with the scale that Rails World is at, and I was telling you like those audiences, like I know core needs to be there, and I know core needs to be there, and I know the board needs to be there. So it's really hard to just. It's possible. It's not impossible, but to like offload some stuff. and trust that all the work streams are going to work well together. So that's just something that I'm already preparing for next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
And I
if
can't wait because it'll be so nice.
yeah. Um, is there any small things that you did that had an outsized or unexpected impact on the conference? Something that maybe you did and you didn't even think about it, and then people came up to you afterwards and they were like, "I loved this thing." And you're like, "Oh."
Yeah. It wasn't like a large impact thing, but last year in Toronto, and this I was like, darn, I'm gonna have to do it all the time now. But I told you these audiences, right? Like we have Rails core, we have the board, and we have all the speakers. And the production company I worked with last year, who I also worked with at HashiCorp and HashiConf, they did these one-page itineraries because you can like put all the calendar events in somebody's
Hmm.
thing. For speakers, it would be this is your rehearsal time, this is your speaker dinner, where to be, this is like your hotel booking reservation number. In Toronto, we also picked them up at the airport and brought them back as well because like you don't want your speakers having to deal with navigating a city and getting places. So it was
Hmm.
just a one-page itinerary, which sounds like nice and easy, but when you have people who fall into different audiences, you have like different templates. Like David, for
Hmm.
instance, he's a speaker, he's on the board, he's on the core team, so he gets all the information. And then various people get parts of the information. So
Yeah.
it's a complex thing to do. And we shipped about, and I think it was Eileen was like, thank you so much because that landed right when I was like, I just need somebody to tell me where to be and when." And I
Yeah.
was like, darn, I'm gonna have to do it all the time now because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
so much work on our end. But in the end, I really like it because it also helps me understand, okay, who needs to be where and when, that kind of
Yeah.
like oversight, because you're just
Hmm.
moving people around all the time and asking them to be
Hmm.
here and asking them to be there. And then I printed it out, and a lot of people said, thank you so much. That's so handy because it's just one page. That's the one thing I don't have to look at the agenda online. I don't have to look
Yep.
at my email, my calendar. It's just one page in front of me. So that's a small thing that we're going to do all the time that had a big impact on the people that are super important, the speakers and the
Hmm.
board and the Rails core team. So
Yeah. Did you print that out like last minute? Because I love having a physical itinerary,
yeah.
but then like if it changes, then the physical one you have is
Yeah.
wrong. You either have to print it again or, write on it or something. Did you guys
This
just like
is
print that very last minute?
Yeah, and this is one of the frustrating things about events. Like, there's so much happening, and it's still happening, and it's still happening, and it's like closing and closing, and at the last minute, okay, finalize, 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 finalize. So
Yeah.
everything is last minute in events. Like, you can't complete anything ahead of time. It all has to happen in the last 2 weeks. That's
Yeah.
another thing. I always try to have everything done in the last, like 2 weeks before the event because I know people, like I'm the same event. I am going to an event next week, and I was just today going, all right, so where's the venue? What time is my talk? Like,
Hmm.
that's when all the emails come into the Rails Foundation asking all these questions. So I want
Yeah.
everything else to be buttoned up so that I can focus on attendees, and also
Yeah.
like I need to get rid of my ticket. I'm sick. I have COVID. I can't make it. I'm
Hmm.
like family issues. That takes up so much time in the last 2 weeks
Mm.
trying to manage those two workflows, knowing that nothing can actually finish until the last minute. So yeah, it's all people and communication management actually, and project
Yeah.
management. It's really tricky. How are you going to manage it? Do you have a partner that's going to help you? Because you're not in events unless you have a partner and you rope your whole family into it. Stuffing
I'm
things, doing
definitely,
badges.
yeah. I am I'm gonna work with Adrian to get the Ruby passport there, and I'm gonna steal your idea, and I'm gonna rope my mom into running the
Do it. Is she like my mom where she was like, say no more. I got the brief. And I was like, okay, but I really want you to give him a hard time. She was like, say no more.
I think she'll be game. I think she'll be game.
Okay, good. So that's one thing I think If I were to give any advice about when you're thinking of all these, like how to the experience that you were saying,
Mm.
this community really, really loves a good bit and they will lean into it. And they love to be charmed, they love to be surprised.
Uh-huh.
And the more weirdness you can add into things, the more they'll appreciate the work that you're doing for it. They'll appreciate it anyway, but then these sorts of funny things, I think, are
Yeah.
like not jokey bits, but the experience is really important. So if you
Yeah.
have something planned there, then amazing.
Yeah. I love that advice because it really is like uh people you go to conferences and the kind of like default purpose of a conference is the talks, right? But
So we
you
say.
can watch those on YouTube afterwards. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to be there in person for those. And like you want to meet people, like that's really good, but it's also really easy to go to a conference and like not talk to anybody if you don't make any initiative. And uh making the entire experience um, more memorable and doing those little things kind of I think can help people get into it.
Yeah.
And uh, when people start to get engaged and have fun, they're more likely to reach out and talk to the people around them and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
did you do the Ruby embassy? That was really funny."
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
and it just makes the whole experience more engaging and it gets people more of what they actually want out of a conference, which is the community uh,
Yeah.
aspect of it. You know what I mean?
Indeed. The one thing that makes me laugh, and in Yuruko, it was like happening all the time, is the ability for this community to be like, how can we have fun? And what
Yeah.
happens is things come out of it like, and like I'm going back now, the first thing I heard about Ruby on Ales, where it was like
Uh-huh.
brewery based conference. Ruby on Trails, what Jeremy
Yeah.
Smith was just doing in the thing. We did a Rails surf camp that after Yuriko, several Ruby developers went surfing together. Uh, PostConf, hey, we're gonna hang out for a couple days after the event. The
Mhm.
Ruby Triathlon. It's just like, how do we take this thing that every community does, tech conferences, community conferences, and
Mhm.
just push it a little bit more, like make it like a little bit more fun. It usually starts with like a silly name. Uh, Ruby on Waves or so, like I can't remember the ones that were coming up at Euroko, but people were like, "What
Yeah.
if we do this? What if we do that? What if we do that?" And it's just like, how do we take this conference but make it in a weird place or with a weird theme or something like that? So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
I think that's a testament to the community. Like it's just all about fun.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Um, do you have any oh, this is such a boring question now after that. Do you have any resources on conference organizing that like anything that inspired you or anything that it could be a book that you read or um a conference that you went to or a blog you follow or anything that it inspires you?
I think the most that I've gotten from events is really like the HashiComps that I've been a part of.
Mm,
Even after the first Rails World that I did, I wrote to the whole team, all the people, and I was like, "Hey, I learned this from you. I learned that from you. I learned that from you." It was intimidating going into my first Rails World without the backing of an events team at an enterprise company, but I was able to kind of pinpoint it back and say, like, you all taught me all of this. So thank you. Say
mm,
thank you for getting me here because our first Rails World was a success. So I think it didn't, I don't have any other ones. One event, GitHub Universe would be a benchmark as
mm.
well.
Yeah.
I constantly see what they're doing online. I haven't been able to go in person, but I'm screenshotting it for my little
Yeah.
like inspiration deck with the designer. Like, how can we take elements of this and put it in our own event coming up, maybe
Mm,
in Austin? So that's what I
yeah.
would say. Like, just obsessively stalk other events online to see what they're doing.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Yeah.
you've gone to a couple. What events have you gone to this year besides RailsConf where we met when I was choking on my breakfast?
When I almost killed Amanda. Um, I have been to Rails World. I went to
Sin
uh,
City, you said,
Sin City
right?
Ruby. I'm planning on going to um, Rocky Mountain Ruby, which is
Cool.
next week. I will be
Yeah,
there.
cool.
If I can, I'm going to try to make it to San Francisco Ruby. Um,
That'll be a good one.
yeah, that's kind of it for this year. Um, Next year, I'm hoping to make it to at least maybe one conference before Blast Off Rails, which will be in June. So if I can make it to one or two more, because it is really nice just to like see how other people are running things and say,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna steal that."
Yeah.
Or sometimes, "Oh, I didn't like that. I'm gonna make sure we
Yeah,
don't do
yeah,
that."
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's,
Um,
there's a good amount of that going on as well
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
Like,
You
maybe
can
not.
just yeah, experiencing other events and seeing what you like and don't like, I think is really helpful. So yeah, I'm trying to make it to as many as possible, but um, yeah, it's hard. I feel like Europe right now has way more conferences than the US. And I think there's some new ones coming in the US.
Yeah.
But this year I felt like was there wasn't a lot of there weren't a lot of conferences in the US this year. So
Hmm.
yeah, hopefully
Interesting,
we'll.
because I know I am hearing more pop up. Like there was one in Austin. I saw rumblings of one in Austin before we announced it, and I was like, please don't be close to September. Another time of
Yeah,
year, fine. But
yeah, I
EXO
think.
Ruby as well with their roadshow.
Oh yes, yo, that yeah, that one's really cool. XO Ruby, I think is the
Yep.
name of that. Um, Jim Remzick. Yeah, that one's really cool. That's like yeah, like a mini conference. It's just one day, and doing it in a bunch of places.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good show. And then
yeah.
SF Ruby, of course, is new. So I think maybe I with Sin City ending and RailsConf ending,
Hmm.
I think we'll probably see even more pop up. That's
Yeah.
usually how it happens, you know,
I mean,
like
that's what prompted me was because I pretty much just went to Sin City Ruby and RailsConf every year. Because I get where I work, they give us like a budget for conferences, or it's kind of our like training conference budget. So those were kind of the ones that fit, and both of those were ending this year, and I was like, what am I going to do next year? And there weren't a lot, but when I learned that it was RailsConf last year and Sin City Ruby's last year, there hadn't been announcement for SF Ruby or RBQ, I think is the Austin one.
yeah, yeah.
So there wasn't a whole lot of options. So yeah, I was like, okay, maybe there's some space um, to fit another one in there. So yeah, and a
And
couple
you'd
of
never travel abroad for one?
so our our budget doesn't cover international. They won't pay for
Oh, bummer.
international
Oh,
conferences. So I would have to pay for that myself, and that's a large financial and time commitment to take time off of work to
yeah.
go. You know, you have to have at least full day travel days on each end and everything.
Mm.
So I would love to go to international conferences, but I haven't had the space yet for that. So
This
maybe
brings
next
up a
year.
Yeah, this brings up a good point that as well that I'm reminded every year. I try to go into Rails World remembering this, but people give up a lot to come to an
Hmm.
event
It's a big
of all
commitment. Yeah.
size. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So being considerate of that fact that they're either they're stepping away from work, family, they're traveling
Hmm.
long distances, sometimes further, sometimes closer, sometimes it's in the same town. It doesn't matter. It's still
Yeah.
like stepping out of your life to do this. I don't know what you can do for that, like make it more worthwhile or just be considerate of it, but that's
Yeah.
something I keep in mind, especially because we're often in a place where people are traveling really far. to get to it. So jet lag is
Hmm.
playing an issue. Over
Yeah.
programming is really a problem then. And that's something I realized this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to like, I mean, that's the point of regional conferences is to make it easy. If you have a bunch of small conferences, people can go to the closest one and
Yeah.
it's not as big of a lift. Albuquerque is relatively centrally located. I'm trying to like push out like, hey, like there's a bunch of direct flights from all these other cities to
Yeah.
Albuquerque that are, less than a 3 hour flight direct.
Yeah.
So, that makes the decision a little bit easier if it's
Yeah.
not like a full travel day. Like they can go
Yeah.
after work on Wednesday, they
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
fly into Albuquerque and spend the 2 days and, trying to make it easier in that respect. Albuquerque in this conference is also comparatively a very low financial commitment as well because it's a smaller city, so our hotels are a little bit cheaper.
Cool.
The conference expenses are cheaper, so I made the tickets cheaper. So it's as far as conferences go, I'm hoping it's low effort to get here, so that will encourage more people.
I
Um,
saw on your blog how much your venue costs. That
yeah,
is
did it make you cry?
amazing. It did. I shed a tear, then I had to like wipe it up and get on the call.
Yeah. No, we got really lucky with expenses because it's like $1,000 a day. I think a little bit more than that, but we have AV included and only have to deal with really one person who's kind of organizing everything. So we got really lucky with
Yeah.
venue, I think, which is going to allow us to do more fun stuff and lower the prices and,
Cool.
try to make this as engaging of a conference as possible. So yeah, we got lucky.
Can I ask you a question or two about things?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Turn the tables a little bit.
Sure.
What has surprised you most so far about organizing an event?
What has surprised me most? Um, I guess probably uh this is gonna sound bad, but what surprised me most is actually how simple it is to put on a conference. And
How dare you?
so, and let me explain that. Because obviously, uh, you hear about RailsConf and Rails World, and these are huge, very complex conferences that take teams of people to put together.
Yeah.
Um, and when I was asking people that had organized conferences before, telling them I want to organize my own conference, one of the first things that not everybody told me this, but one of the first things that most people said was, "Oh, who is your co-organizer? Do you have a team of people to organize this?" And I didn't. And that kind of made me nervous at first. But once I got into it and I had kind of decided like this is gonna be my first one. It's not gonna be super polished. It's not going to be super extravagant. I just want a place for people to gather and
Mhm.
have a Ruby and a Rails experience.
Yeah.
That isn't super complex. You need speakers, you need sponsors to cover the expenses, you need a venue.
Yeah.
If you have those things, if you do nothing else, people can still have a good time just
Yeah.
because you've given them a space to have that connection.
Yeah.
You can have a conference with only those three things, and getting those three things isn't easy, but is not impossible for one person to do part-time after their
Yeah.
job, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, so that kind of was something where I was like, oh, it wasn't surprising necessarily, but it was kind of a mind shift of, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. Because before I was a little nervous at, do I need a team of people? How hard is this going to be? Um, I mean, you don't even have to have any swag. You don't have to have name badges. I really I had an awesome experience every year at Sin City Ruby,
Mhm.
and Jason handed out blank stickers and a Sharpie, and you
And my
just
name is?
wrote your name and you stuck it on your shirt, right? Like badges
Yeah.
are something that like a lot of conference organizers complain about because you have to get them printed and then people are changing
Yeah.
stuff and you want to like
Yeah.
put different like logos on them and what are QR codes and everything, but you don't have to. I had a great time at Sin City Ruby every year, and it was I made good memories there, and it was not a super complex
Okay.
conference. I
Nice.
love going to RailsConf, and I'm super excited to go to Rails World. But if you want to do a conference yourself, you can. I think that was
Yeah.
the main thing that kind of surprised me as I got into it.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I have said several times, and I really, really stand by it, that you could throw beanbag chairs in a
Hmm.
parking lot and project the content against a brick wall, and people would make it a party.
Yeah.
the
Yep.
the the fun for conference organizers, if you're really really into it, is all the extras that you can bring to it
Yeah.
and like your stamp that you can put on it, but you
Yep.
don't need it. Absolutely not. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. For Rails World, RubyConf, you definitely need more than just that, but
Right.
yeah, I
Right.
agree. And that's the beauty of regional conferences as well. Like you can just be like, instead of a name badge, introduce yourself to somebody, say
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
name out loud, or wear a t-shirt or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you, I'm trying to think of another like good question to get you. What are you most looking forward to in it? That's my last question.
Uh, the people, honestly, like just seeing who goes and yeah, as an attendee, that's always fun to like see who you're gonna meet.
Yep.
Um, but as an organizer, it's slightly different because it's like you want to see who comes because you're like, oh, this person trusted me, uh, and they
Don't
like
tell them.
decided to come to this thing
Yeah, yeah,
that I
yeah.
made. Like that's very gratifying. Um, and we're still
Cool.
pretty far out, and maybe nobody will come, but maybe a couple people will come, and that'll be like meeting people in that context is like, oh wow, like these people came to this thing that I put on. That's really cool. Um, and getting to meet those people will be fun.
When are you releasing your tickets?
It's already up.
Okay.
I was gonna, I thought about doing the whole like marketing build up and then like a release date. But then I was like, that sounds like a lot of work and I don't really have the like sway of the bigger conferences to get people excited. So I'm just gonna
Fine.
release them and people can buy them when they think about it.
Cool.
And we're still pretty
Nice.
far out. I just opened it up so that people can buy if they want. And I'm going
Yeah.
to do more of a marketing push, if you want to call it that, in the, February, March, April kind
Yeah.
of uh, timeline to say, hey, get your tickets now. This is what's going to be happening. Because I
Yeah.
also, I haven't hashed out a lot of the experience parts of the
Mm.
conference yet. And I'm going to be doing that kind of at the end of the year and the beginning of the year. And then I
Cool.
hope to give that as people saying, here's what the conference is actually going to be like. Here's why you
Yeah.
should buy a ticket. Because right now I'm just somebody that nobody knows who got some sponsors, some speakers, and a venue. And that's, maybe if you live in Albuquerque, that's a reason to buy a ticket because you're like, oh, I'll go. It's right here. But later on, I'll be hoping to give people more reasons to buy tickets.
I the ticket timing is such a thing. We had to do it too early in Toronto because so many people needed visas, and Toronto's
Mhm.
government said, okay, our immigration said, okay, you need to open tickets at a certain amount to give people 6 months leeway at least. So of course
Yeah,
you want to give them more.
yeah.
And in the end, that meant a lot of change tickets later
Hmm.
because people plans change. Like I don't know
Yep.
where I'm going to be like next year or whatever. But
Yeah.
I remember at Hashi Conf, we would always see like, okay, steady, steady, steady ticket sales, steady ticket sales. Oh no, should we panic? And then at the last minute, all the last tickets.
Yes.
We would always sell
Yeah.
out, but it was like very much a steep end, probably the way you're looking at it this way. But
Yeah.
you'll probably see that as well, even though things are like people plan last minute a lot more, especially now
Yes.
these days. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that from multiple conference organizers, and I am one of those people that I see the conference, and I even some of them like I know I'm going, but I just won't
Yeah.
buy the ticket yet until it gets
Yeah, yeah.
closer.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, I sometimes that has to do with like my job and how like expense requests happen in fiscal years or whatever, but sometimes I'm just like, okay, I just want to know am I making this a long trip or a short trip?
yeah,
So, or, I want to make sure that I'm available that weekend just in case something comes up, and then I'll end up buying my ticket. I usually still buy the ticket a month or two ahead of time. Some people will like literally the week before
yeah.
they're buying their ticket and hotel and flight. I don't do that,
Ah, I
but
couldn't
a lot of
live
people
like
do
that.
that.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit late for my own liking, but for the most part, I like to know generally in advance.
Yeah. I mean, I think Jason told me that from Sin City Ruby, like the 2 weeks before the conference, they sold like a large portion of their tickets in the 2 weeks before. And then I
Yeah,
just saw a post from Rocky Mountain Ruby that they had just sold out, a week
yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, I'm not banking on a bunch of ticket sales months out.
Yeah,
But it is nerve-wracking as the organizer of like,
yeah.
you're a month or two out and you've sold like 20 tickets and you're like, is anybody gonna be
Is
there?
anybody coming to my party? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
is
know.
it gonna be literally 20 people there? There's almost as many speakers as attendees. That's a little
There's your
scary.
buddy system. Every speaker grab an attendee.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I am not looking forward to that anxiety of watching ticket sales. It hasn't hit me yet, but yeah, that's
Oh, there's plenty of time. And
yeah,
also, like, I think this community, if you just make Albuquerque appealing enough and give a good enough excuse, everything that you've already said in this, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Like,
yeah.
especially when the experience, when you start understanding what that is and what you can
Hmm.
talk about, sometimes it's nice to keep things a surprise. Sometimes it's nice to leak it a little bit. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll sell out. I'm sure.
I'm fingers crossed. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I've kept you for over an hour. Any other
That went
last words or advice for people organizing their own conferences?
fast. Oh, yeah. Think of every small little detail as far as like, you don't have to be as obsessive as I get about an event in like the 2 months beforehand. But for instance, think already of the end. Are you recording your sessions?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of based on how many sponsors we get, but I think we have enough to get them
Cool.
recorded.
Nice. So then already think about like the YouTube descriptions, the thumbnails, like
Mm,
that sort of thing. Like where are you going to put it? Is the YouTube channel already made? And after the event, the feedback survey, already have that. Like you have to think of all the
mm,
tiny, tiny little details and just like map it all out. So then it's just execution, execution. That
yeah.
would be my advice. Like think of the tiniest little details and what you might miss so that you don't miss anything.
Do you keep like a list? Do you have like a master list or because I have like a whole note app, but it's just like all like I'll think of an idea and I'll like, where does this go? I'll just throw it in there. So I have like a bunch of unorganized thoughts and notes and checklists and stuff.
Yeah, I tried to make one for like a an event template for Basecamp.
Hmm.
But we haven't been consistent because the vendors that I usually work with, they're very anti like new software because like every customer would come up with, we want to use Asana, we want to use
Yeah.
Jira, we want to use not
Yep.
necessarily Jira, we want to use Trello, Basecamp. So
Yeah. Yeah.
up until recently, it's been very much no, we're not going to use that. So I haven't had any consistency, but next year I'm going to be more forceful and like it needs to happen in Basecamp. We need to have some consistency that we haven't had.
Right.
So haven't had it yet, but I have like a spreadsheet that we usually work off of. Good old
Gotcha.
fashioned spreadsheet. When all else fails, Excel
Yeah.
wins. Excel excels.
Yep. Yeah.
But just like throw everything down and yeah, that's exactly it. Like the little details in the middle of the night when you're like, oh, what about this? And put it somewhere. As long as it's
Hmm.
somewhere, then
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
that's kind of like your low-key way to obsess about it, which is fine. Mine's a little bit more obsessive.
Yeah. Yeah. The obsessiveness sometimes makes it great, you know?
Yeah. I
Your stress is somebody else's incredible experience. So,
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. It's terrible on your own body, but as long as somebody has a good time. Actually, I'll finish with this one story. I also do events for my friends for fun, like mystery trips, where I tell them like,
nice.
give me like block off this weekend, give me X amount of cash. You don't know until you need to know where we're going or what we're doing.
Oh, I love
And it's
that.
usually like flying all over Europe. So this time I like had my little clipboard of like what had to happen like step by step and I was running around Venice. I had like flown my friends to Venice and they were like, you should try to have a good time. Like relax and have a good time. And I was there with my clipboard going like, oh, this is how I have a good time. Like I am in my element
Right.
right now. And they were like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. It's that's on you. Oh,
Yeah. You having a good time is my good time.
yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Awesome. That's really cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time
Great chat.
and your expertise. And
Anytime. If you need to bend ideas off of, you have so many people in the community, so I'll put myself forward as well. If you just want to rubber duck or brainstorm or something,
yeah,
let me know.
awesome. I appreciate that. I will probably take advantage of that because yeah, I really love even though I haven't been to Rails World, seeing from other people's posts and stuff, the attention that you put into the experience is something I definitely want to try to emulate. So I'll be bouncing ideas
Obsession.
off you.
Obsession.
Yes, yeah. So I'll definitely be doing that. And
Cool.
thank you for letting us record this, and hopefully other people will watch this and start their own conference and yeah, put some obsession into the
Yeah.
details. So
Cool.
really appreciate it, and
Yeah.
we'll talk again soon.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye bye.